Hello everyone and welcome to Slipjoint Sawyer. Got another Victorinox video for you today, this one of a discontinued but not forgotten model. And this is a very sort of unique design from Victorinox, as it originally started out as the German army knife. So if any of you are familiar, sort of nicknamed the GAK or the GAK for German army knife, had similar sort of scales to this, but we're going to be looking at the Mauser today. Now the Mauser is 108 millimeters in closed length, and that equates to, we have a little look, 4¼ inches, so a pretty sizable knife. Now this model was made for the German market, hence German Army Knife or GAK, but this one was actually made for the Mauser company. So if any of you are familiar, it's a very famous German firearms manufacturer, made pistols, rifles, all that sort of stuff. It's based on the German Army Knife with the addition of one extra tool, which we'll take a look at, and I think it might actually be one of my favourite sort of tools on any of the Victorinox Swiss Army knives. So unusually for a Victorinox Swiss Army knife, all the tools open at one end, so it does make it sort of more intuitive, a bit easier to sort of become accustomed to that sort of stuff. So everything opens this way, so all the nail nicks are on the front, but you can see they're all accessible. So the blade at the back, a little bit more tricky, but there's enough there for you to get a nail into without having any sort of issues whatsoever. So it's a 3-layered design. You can see on the back we have some back tools on here. So we have corkscrew, and then we also have a punch. Another thing that's unusual to Victorinox is having the cutout for the punch. That's more of a Wenger thing, to be honest, and it is a very Wenger style punch, nice and long and slender. No sewing eye on this, so you can see though, so it is just a punch. But I do like the fact that it's got that cutout, which does make it nice and sort of sleek looking, a bit more comfortable in the hand, but having like the tang of it sticking up. I think that just looks absolutely fantastic. You get a lanyard hole on there as well, which I have put a little bit of leather through. I always find with a knife, if it's got a lanyard hole, it doesn't look right unless it's got something through the lanyard hole. As much as I'm not a huge fan of lanyards, it just makes more sense to me. So I just went with a sort of a vintage bit of leather to sort of match the aesthetics or the age of the knife. So the model number then for the Mauser is, we are looking at 0.8790.78. It has sort of, it's not even Celador scales. I'm pretty sure these are just like, you know, the heat pressed scales. I'm not even sure what you would call them, but they're not Celador. It's just like a thermoplastic, I guess, is the best way. Got a Mauser logo here printed on the front cover, and then nothing on the back. It's just very plain, but we do have this stippling here, which does make it very grippy in the hand. On the front then, you get the same combo tool as you would get on the German Army knife. So you get a nice little nail nick. You get the cap lifter, which also works, I believe, as a can opener. And you get a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver. Now you will notice there's quite a large unsharpened portion here, but this is just a guard for the saw you get. So you just sort of slide it off, and underneath is probably the most aggressive saw I've seen on a pocket knife. And look at that. Absolutely razor sharp, and you can see why that guard's there, because you imagine trying to go and use that can opener, you're going to want to grab it here, your finger's going to be right in that saw. So that's what the guard is designed for, just sort of cover that up so you're not going to get it caught in your fingers. It can be a bit finicky to put on, but it just sort of slots over there nicely, and you can see it doesn't affect the closing of the knife, which is absolutely perfect. That tool then, we are looking at 3¼ inches with a nice snap, about a 6 on the pull. Back tool then, we'll say the middle one for last because it's my favourite. You get the Victorinox spear blade, and this one has been replaced. It did go back for a warranty, as you'll see in my previous video. Victorinox Swiss made stainless, and then nothing on the back. And unfortunately this is one that's not going to be UK legal. I mean, I know the UK market says cutting edge is the law, but do we think anyone's going to sort of, you know, if you get stopped with the blades, is it going to be that sort of thing? Because the cutting length is under 3 inches, so For me, I would personally carry this, but you know, it's up to you whether you would carry it or call it UK legal, because the full blade length is over that 3-inch mark. But beautiful edge on this. Obviously it's a brand new blade. Not sure how old the blade would be, because I imagine it's, you know, been sitting around in their workshop for a while, but beautiful action. Listen to the snap on that. What's not to love about this knife? And then last but not least, my favorite tool, I think, on this or any of this sort of size, is they put a clip point blade on it. Oh, look at that thing. Got Mauser on the blade. You've got some text on there as well, a bit more about the company, the Mauser company. No tang stamp on this one though, which is unusual. But look at the clipped bit on the blade, beautiful edge. And that thing, I really wish Victorinox would do some clip knives on their main line. I think it would be absolutely superb. It's going to be very similar length to the main spear. Yeah, 3 1/4 with 2.9-inch cutting length. So again, for me, I would carry it, but do your own research, make your own decisions about whether you would think this would be UK legal. I'm more than happy to carry it. I carry sizable knives. When I say sizable, I mean I carry ones that are on the border of being UK legal, and as long as you're not, you know, being silly with them, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But absolutely beautiful piece from Victorinox, the Mauser German Army knife. Quite rare. This one I did pick up with some snapped blades, which you'll see at the end of the video in a slideshow. I believe the clip blade was snapped about here, and only the very tip of the spear was taken maybe about here. But I was sending stuff back to Victorinox, so it went back with it. Just wanted to see if they had any clip blades really, and it turns out they did, which is fantastic. One that I'm going to really enjoy using. It's going to go in my sort of camping bag, or might even just use it as an EDC, you know, but this is a fantastic knife. Overall, very impressed with Victorinox, very impressed with the German Army knife. But I hope you enjoyed this review of the Mauser by Victorinox. That model number again is 0.8790.78. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.